All right, welcome back. So we have a good bit of the basics down, and today the plan is to look at headings, paragraphs, links, and then I'll talk about inline and block elements. Now we've already looked at headings and paragraphs, so I'm gonna add a comment, and which is basically just control and then the forward slash key or the question mark key. A comment is just comment isn't anything that shows up on the website. It's just for us to see and to help keep us organized. So I'm just gonna label this heading. This once again, you just press control and then the forward slash key, and then it'll create a heading or it'll create a comment. So we know H1 is a standard heading. So if you do H1 and then so this is actually Emmet. It's the suggestion box. And if we just press tab, we can autocomplete our code. So for let's just label this heading 1. Heading, I cannot type, heading 1. Now this is just the first heading. So I'm gonna remove this, and I'm actually gonna show you something. So let's just say I wanted to put another heading underneath this one, but I want it to be a little bit smaller. So I can actually just take this. Another cool trick is if I hold Shift Alt and then the down arrow, it'll copy it. I hope I don't have it properly. So Shift Alt and the down arrow, it'll copy this whole line and it'll just copy the whole line down. So let's just say I have a heading 2. Let me just call this a subheading. So I have another heading underneath it, and then let's just have a paragraph. Let's just generate text. And a cool trick, you can type lorem, press tab, and it'll just generate a bunch of dummy text. Another cool trick is you can also specify how many words you want to generate. So if you do lorem and then a number, so if I do lorem like 15, it'll generate 15 words. So let's just do lorem 10. We'll generate 10 words. So I have my heading, a subheading. Okay, now let's go down and let's say I want to put another subheading underneath. Oh, what? So just put another H1. A subheading, and then I just press Shift Alt and down arrow. We'll copy this down, and I want to put a smaller heading. Let's just call this another heading underneath it. So what I'm trying to do here is I have one large header at the top, then a smaller one underneath it, paragraph, another subheading, and then a even smaller one underneath it. But if you notice, we're using an H1 and each heading is the same size. So I actually have another website here. This is not a real website. This is just like a dummy website. So what I want to look at here is the different headings that are actually on it. So if you look, this right here could be an H1. This is a heading 1. If I scroll down, this is another heading. These are also headings. This is another heading. And this heading is the same as this one. They have the same size. Scroll down, another heading. These are also headings. And, there's different types of headings. And let's go back to our code here. So how would we put that different type of heading? Well, there's actually there's actually 6 different types of headings. So this one was H1 and it goes down to H6. There's 6 different types of heading. So let's go down and create heading 2, which is heading 2. Let's go, and if I press Control Enter, I can actually, since my cursor is in the middle of a line, pressing Control Enter will just bring me onto a new line without having to go to the end. Let's press H3. I forgot how to type. Heading 3, H4, heading 4, H5, heading 5, and then last but not least is H6, which is heading 6. Now, as you can see, they're all different sizes. This is the default styling that is applied to the H1 through H6. So the first one's the largest, then it just gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And you can apply your own styling. We'll look at that when we get into CSS. But if we go back to this website, this is the H1 because it's usually there's only one H1 per page and it's the largest text. So H1, this is the H1. We can go down here. This could be the H2. This can be an H3. We come down, this is back to H2 because it's the same as this. Let's go down H2, H3, H2, and that's basically what that is. And now if I right click, I can actually hit inspect. And if I just hit this like little mouse icon, when I hover over it, it'll actually tell me. So if you look at the top of the pop-up, okay, if you look at the top of the pop-up, it says H1. So this is an H1. This right here is an H3. This is an H4. So you can see all these are different types of headings and they have different styling applied to them. So this H1, the font size is 60. This H3, the font size is 44. This H4, the font size is 20. It says it in the pop-up. And then once again, we're back to H3 and the font size is 44. Now, these H2 or these H3, well, they're actually H3s. These H3 tags, they're all the same. They've used one H3 tag throughout the whole website, right? And what I can actually do is if I go into the H3 and let's just don't mind what I'm doing here. I'm just gonna let's just change the color to purple. Now I changed the color of this H3 heading to purple. If I scroll down, hold on, I accidentally applied that. 1 second, just need to fix this real quick. H3. Now I've changed the color of the H3 heading to purple. Now if I scroll down, every single H3 heading is actually changed because these are all the exact same heading, but the H1 and the H4 haven't changed. And that's because they are different elements. And I can actually apply different styling. If I wanted to, I could honestly make this H3 heading bigger than the H1 just by changing the font size and applying different styling to it. But yeah, you can have 6 different heading styles. So let's go back to what I wanted to do on everything. So I wanted to have a heading on the top, then a subheading, which we'll use as H2. We'll use H2 as our subheading. And then I wanted a paragraph. So let's just do lorem 10 generate paragraph. Then I wanted another subheading and we use H2 as our subheading. So H2 subheading. And then let's go down and then I wanted another heading, which was even smaller than the subheading. And I'll use H3 for that. Let's do another heading. Now if I save that, we kind of have what we wanted. I'll make this actually, let's just, we'll use H4 for this one to make it a little bit smaller. Another heading, save that. And then here we kind of have what we wanted. We wanted a big header on the top, subheading, paragraph, another subheading, and then even smaller heading at the end. And that's basically what that is. So once again, you can have 6 different types of headings, and I'll list them out again real quick. So basically for headings, we just have 6 different types of headings. Now I want to move on to paragraphs. Actually, let me just do something real quick. One thing, there's actually 2 things I'll show you right now while I'm at it. There is something called a line break, which is a BR tag. And if I show you this right now, all these headings are just pushed onto another line, right? So this is 1 line, 2nd line, 3rd line, 4th line, all the way down to the 6th line. But if I wanted to add a space, so if I wanted this to be on the 1st line and then a space on the 2nd line, and this one gets pushed down to the 3rd line, I can add a line break, which is just a BR. So if I type in BR, and then once again, Emmett can autocomplete that, and if you just hit tab, it creates a line break. So BR doesn't need a closing tag because it doesn't need to display anything, but what it's just done here is created a line break, and I can add another one here, so BR, and it'll just push it another line down. And then one more is the horizontal rule. I can actually just add a comment right now just to show that. Let's do horizontal rule. And what this is, if I just do HR, and I just autocomplete that, once again, this doesn't need a closing tag. Now, horizontal rule is the exact same as a line break, but this time it'll actually draw a visual line where it breaks the line. And I'm gonna comment the line break too here. Line break. Should just BR. So that's line break and a horizontal rule. Now let's get into paragraphs. So just list this paragraph. I cannot type today at all. I never can, but today is just even worse. So let's move to paragraphs. Paragraphs, we've already looked at them. You can press P, hit tab, and autocomplete it. Once again, we can press lorem, the number of words we want to generate. So I want to generate 10 words, hit save, and it'll generate a paragraph of 10 words. I just realized I put an H5 heading here on accident. I'm just gonna fix that real quick. Change it to heading 6. Okay, anyways, so the last thing I want to look at for now is a link. Of course, this is really important. Let's put another comment and type in link. Now, to put in a link, you just press A and then tab and it'll autocomplete it. Now, for the href, this is basically where you want your link to lead to. Now, there's two types of links. There is an external link and an internal link. So first, let's start off with an external link. External. So what this is, external just means it leads off to another page, something to a website that is not your website. So I have Google open here, okay? And let's just copy this Google URL and just paste it in between these quotation marks. Let's put there. And then now in between the A tag, so for the content, I'll just type in whatever I want the link to say. So let's just say, I'm just gonna type in link. Now if I hit save, it'll actually, this looks really ugly, but we'll style it later in CSS. But regardless, it is a link, and I'm gonna put another HR right here. See that, and then we'll put a, you know what, I'm gonna organize a little bit better. So I'll put, I need to fix my keyboard because this is not working out for me. So let's put an H3 that says paragraph. This is links. So we'll do H3 links. Okay, so now we have a link, and if we click on this, it should bring us to Google, and it does. But if you look, it actually, like when we click on it, right, it brings up Google on the same tab our website was on, and that's not really practical because you don't want to lead people off your website. You kind of want to leave your website open. And to do that, to basically just have it open in another tab, it's pretty easy. You just add in another attribute, and we're just gonna type in target equals, and then just do underscore blank. And that's pretty much it. Now if we save that, and if we click on this link, it'll actually open in another tab. So that's an external link. And now an internal link is pretty similar, except we have a different, we link to a different thing. So let's open my file explorer here. We only have one page. So if I wanted to just create a new file, let's create a new page and call it, test page. Oh, you know what? Let's just call it like a random underscore page. Okay, so this is just, and do not forget to add the .html after. So this is random underscore page dot HTML. Now let's add our A tag, which is a link. Now for href, instead of copying a link or copying this random page link, we can actually navigate through the file. So right now we're in the HTML file, and if I just put a /, you can see it'll give you a list of the available pages or the available files that are in the folder, and randompage.html is in the exact same folder, so we can just click on that and then it'll put in randompage.html. And since randompage.html is on our website, we don't need to add the target underscore blank because we don't need to open it on another tab. If you wanted to, you could, but we really don't need to. So let's just do link. And if we save that, there's another link right here. If we click on this link, it'll bring us to the blank randompage.html. And let's put something on that page so let's just go to randompage.html. Let's generate our template or like our default code and just rename the title random page. And then let's just put a heading that says random page. So if I'm here on document, if we click, the second link was, you know what, to make it even more clear, let's just actually change this from link to random page. Everything is completely random. Now, it's random page link, and if we click it, it'll open up random page, which is in our folder, and that is an internal link. Now, there's one more thing I want to, let me just rename this link, external link to Google. Now, there's one more thing I want to talk about before we end off for now, and that there's there's more than two types, but right now I want to talk about the two types of elements. Now, there are inline and block elements. Now, if you've noticed, some of you may have pointed this out or caught this, but when we put our heading, so we have a heading 1, and then under it we put our heading 2. So then our heading 2 moved on to the new line and it went down to 6. And we have heading 1, 2, 3, and they're all in different lines. But down here, we had a link and then another link underneath it. Keep in mind, this is a comment, right? It's just a note for us to look at. This has nothing to do with the format of the code or the page. So the browser doesn't even read this. But we have a link and then another link underneath it, but it didn't get pushed down to a new line. It didn't. So if I put a BR, it didn't look like this. We don't have our first link and then our second link on the bottom. By default, it's just, it gets put right next to it. And that's because a link is an inline element and a heading is a block element. So what is a block and inline element? Well, I have W3 Schools open, which again is a really good resource for learning code. And here it lists a couple, these are all block elements. So these are all different tags you can use in your code. And these are all block level elements. And then these are all inline elements. A block level element basically means that it spans to the end of the page or the container it's in. So right now, this heading, it's inside the body, and the body is basically this whole page right here. And the heading is inside the body, and now the width of the heading, like this element, it spans to the end of the page. So I'll show you what I mean. You don't have to, pay attention to what I'm doing here. I'm just doing this so you can see it visually. But if I drew a border around the body, so this is the body. This blue line, this blue square is the body. Okay, this is what everything is inside. Now, this is the heading, and of course everything is inside the body, and the heading is also inside the body. Now, if I draw a border around the heading 1, let's draw a 2-pixel border, make it green, solid. And now if you look, it doesn't stop where the text ends. It actually spans to the end of the container it's in. So it's in the body and it goes to the end of it. But now if you look down here, this is these links are inline elements. So if I drew a I'm gonna create a BR here real quick. So if I drew a border around the link, so make it red solid. And if you look, the border around the link is only as big as what's in it, right? This red box doesn't go all the way to the end, meaning all this space is empty. And so if I were to take away that BR, this random page link, which is underneath it, it has room, and I can add another border to that one. Let's make it a border, 2 pixels, red solid, and they can just keep stacking up until the end of the page. Now, if I keep, creating more links, eventually it'll get pushed down to the next line, but that's because it's reached the end of the page and doesn't have any more room, so it moves down to the next line. But for headings, this heading won't just fit in here right after this heading because it's a block level element and it just spans to the end of the page. And that's why, and if you go back to this website, this just shows you examples of block level elements and then inline level elements. And if you look in block level elements, a paragraph, we look at this, a paragraph is also a block level element. So here we have paragraphs and we have this lorem, this like dummy code. So if I create another paragraph underneath it, let's generate lorem 30. If you look at that, instead of this paragraph starting from here, it starts on another line down here because a paragraph is a block level element. Now to finish it off, if you go back to Double 3 Schools, it says right here, an inline element cannot contain a block level element, and that is fairly self-explanatory. So a heading is it can contain a block level element, but it won't stay as an inline element. So a link is a block level element. Now, where it says random page, if I remove this and added an h1 tag and then called it random page, before, yeah, if I undo that real quick, see before I need a link. So before it would kind of add on to the end of external link, but inside the A tag, which is an inline element, I'm adding a block level element, and now it no longer acts as an inline element. It now acts like a this h1 tag kind of just broke the border and it just messed up. So don't add block level elements inside inline elements, but it can work the other way around. So if I had this paragraph, so right here, let's just say after this comma, I wanted to add a link, so I can press A tab. And if I don't want this link to go anywhere, I can just put like a pound symbol, like a hashtag, and now it'll still act as a link, but it won't lead us anywhere. So I just type link. As you can see, so a paragraph is a block level element, but an A tag is inline. And I'll take this and actually put it up here just for a better visual. So the first h1 tag has a border around it, so I paste this and then add a style around this link. Style border, just do 2 pixels, blue solid. As you can see, this link hits inline and it fits in the block heading element. So that's all for now. This video did get kind of long. We just passed 20 minutes. In the next video, we'll talk about images forms, tables, and stuff like that.